A fundamental right is the right to life, and that may well be one of the arguments used to impose a state of emergency to tackle the issue of crime and a high homicide rate. It's one of the points being made by political analyst Dr. Indira Rampersad, who I take it is in agreement with an extension of the state of emergency. Dr. Rampersad?
Yes, certainly. I do agree with it. I am seeing that a number of people, I live in St. Augustine, which is not under curfew, and the residents of St. Augustine and environs, I think most of the country are home by 9, whether they are under curfew or not. I think people are feeling safer because they know that the police and the military is out there and the criminals are reduced. Whether they are in hiding or they are, limiting their activities to their respective areas, I'm not sure of that. But I think there's a general feeling of security in the entire population. And for this reason, I agree with the extension. However, I myself was thinking that the hours of curfew should be reduced for a number of reasons. The business people have been complaining about loss of business. And school is going to be reopened. The university, for example, has classes up to 10 p.m. And we wouldn't want to affect the students' education. So I think after this week, when we get into the school period, I agree that the extension, that the number of hours should be reduced.
There is concern in some quarters about the continuing suspension of our constitutional rights. What is your view there?
It is somewhat of an ambivalent point because the Constitution provides for this kind of state of emergency. It's been quoted widely in the newspaper and elsewhere that Section 8 of the Constitution allows for a state of emergency. However, and if I may take it to the level of international law, we would see that the right to life in both the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of the United Nations and the European Convention on Human Rights, even the Human Rights Act 1998 of Europe, they all speak to the right of life as being the fundamental right, and I agree with that. However, that right also contravenes some other rights and other articles of these very documents which speak about the freedom of movement and the freedom of expression. In my opinion, I would say that the right to life is the most fundamental right, and if freedom of movement and freedom of expression has to be curtailed in that process, then I agree that I am willing to sacrifice that freedom of movement for the right to live.
There is some concern in some quarters that with the police having the authority to arrest and enter property without warrant, alongside with the intention to enact a seizure of property legislation, that there is the potential for abuse. Is there legitimacy in that kind of concern?
There certainly is. We have to keep in mind while police officers are expected to act professionally and in keeping with their line of duty, there will be the errant ones, the delinquent ones who might want to abuse that process. But we also have to keep in mind the intent and the fundamental intention of what these law officers are about, and that is to protect the citizens, to ensure the security of the citizens. Now, if that is their intentions and if that is their objective and if that is what they do in the process, then we wouldn't have a problem. However, and I agree that there will be a few policemen who may want to abuse the process given this kind of privilege in these times.
What would you say to critics of your views who may say that your view is partisan?
Well, I don't think my view is partisan. I have been looking at the three news this evening, 3 channels of news this evening. All of them are showing a majority of the population agree with the extension and agree with the state of emergency. I've also been speaking to people, in the street as a political scientist of what they think about it, and most people are comfortable. It is very surprising the level of, the extent to which our citizenry is law-abiding. One would hardly expect it. Most of the country, and I can say almost all of the country, is home by 9 when the curfew is only imposed in certain restricted areas. That in itself is interesting and suggests that the people are ready to cooperate with the government and with the security officials and with the opposition, whoever wants to deal with this scourge of crime that has plagued our country for such a long time, and I want to be one of them as well.
Dr. Indira Rampersad, political analyst, thank you for joining us. When we get back, Roman Catholic priest Father Clyde Harvey. Stay right there.